Are there actually proven ways that you can avoid wasting food? That's right, throwing out in the garbage because it has rotted. Actually, I have 15 rules for zero food waste to share with you. Hi friends, I'm Hope from Under the Median. Welcome to Frugal Friday Tips, where every Friday we give you ways that you can spend less and save more. Nothing, and I mean nothing, drives me crazier than to see food that is gone bad in the refrigerator and I'm throwing it out and I'm thinking I should have been able to use this. So this video is all about how to avoid that kind of sick feeling in your stomach while you know you're throwing food out that you've already paid good money for. There are 15 ways in our house that we try to avoid food waste. The first of those ways is to always make sure that you are storing food correctly. And this is a great time for me to introduce you to the sponsor for this video, Novart. They are the creators of the premium glass herb keeper. I was so excited to receive one of these glass herb keepers, and I'm going to show you what it looked like when I opened the box. Glass. Instructions, very important. I am going to assemble this. First, I'm going to wash it up real good, assemble it, and then we're going to put some mint in here and see how it does. I filled the water to the maximum fill line, and now I'm going to show you how easy this is to use. So I have some mint from our backyard. I'm going to put the mint right in here. Big, really large capacity in this. Put it down like that. That goes right into your refrigerator. And every 2 or 3 days, I'm going to change this water. And then I'm going to show you what these herbs look like in 1 week. Here's what the mint looks like after 8 days in the herb keeper. If you would like to get one of your own glass herb keepers, well, you can. There's a link in the description of this video. And not only that, Novart is offering Under the Median viewers a 10% discount when you use the discount code YTMedian10. And I'll have that listed in the description of the video. That discount code will be right there next to the link that you can click on to get your glass herb keeper. All right, now, when it comes to actually storing food properly, why did I go to all the trouble to even talk about storing food properly? Don't most people know exactly where food is supposed to be stored? Actually, the answer is no. That's why you have all these articles about freezer burn. You have food that's going bad in the refrigerator. It's not necessarily that the shelf life of the food is so short, is that you're not actually taking advantages of ways that you could extend that shelf life. Now, if you are curious about extending the shelf life, particularly of produce, I actually have a free resource that I don't think I have ever offered on this YouTube channel before. It is a seasonal savings guide specifically geared around produce. It's an 8-page ebook, and the last 2 pages of that ebook are charts that list the 15 most popular fruits and the 15 most popular vegetables. I tell you exactly where you should store it, the average life of that fruit or vegetable, and then for every single one, I give you specific tips on how you can extend that shelf life. And if you'd like to request that free resource, there's going to be a link, you know where to look, in the description of the video. So, once again, store food correctly. All right, food rule number 2 is to know what you have on hand. Make sure that you keep a current inventory of your perishable foods, of your freezer, and of your pantry. I know we've talked about this before, but it is so very important because that keeps you from going where? To the grocery store. And that keeps you from doing what? Throwing out food. All right. Rule number three, make sure that you organize your pantry and your freezer. Now, I've done videos on both of these topics, and I show you how I organize my pantry and how I organize my freezer. In fact, we did a 4-part series on pantries and how to stock up your pantry. And I'm going to make sure that there's a link to that series in the description of this video so you can go ahead and watch that. So rather than reiterate what I've already shared, I'll just leave a link to that into the description of this video. But there are some very specific ways that you can organize your space so that you make sure you don't lose track of what is already in there. The fourth rule of zero food waste is clearly label and date your leftovers. How many times do you get into the refrigerator and go, those beans, I wonder how long they've been in there? Okay, it's happened to us more than once. Larry, who is on the other side of the camera, my beloved spouse, is going to verify, do we have leftovers that are sometimes not labeled in the refrigerator?
Yep.
Yes, we do. But we try really hard not to do that. So our goal is always to follow our own rule, which is when you put something in the refrigerator, you make sure that you label the contents and make sure that you date it. Rule number 5 of zero food waste is serve planned leftovers. Now, some people give leftovers like a bad rap, all right? Leftovers can be glorious. Here's the good thing about leftovers. Sometimes, depending on what you make, you can actually sort of reinvent that original dish and serve it in a little bit of a different way so your family doesn't even suspect she's serving me leftovers. So when we have leftovers, I always have on the menu plan how many days I think that dish is going to last us. And if I'm going to make a big pot of chili and then later in the week, we're going to add that to some macaroni and make some chili mac, it's going to say chili 2 nights and then it's going to say chili mac 1 night, and I'm going to reinvent that chili, serve it as chili mac, and they are not going to suspect it. Yes, they've just had chili for 3 nights instead of 2. All right, so make sure you plan those leftovers and reinvent them. Okay, rule number 6, I just sort of morphed it right into rule number 5. Rule number 5, serve planned leftovers, and rule number 6 actually is make sure when you're serving those that you reinvent them and serve them a little different way the second time. Rule number 7, make sure you're using your vegetable scraps to make homemade veggie broth. Easy, easy, easy peasy. I give you my word. It doesn't take a lot of time or effort to make homemade vegetable broth, but all those scraps that you're throwing into the garbage can, then you can actually save those, put them in a freezer bag, label that freezer bag veggie broth. When you've got a gallon freezer bag full, you can stick it into your pressure cooker for 17 minutes. Just cover it with water, put it for 17 minutes, and in 17 minutes, just like that, you have homemade vegetable broth. So good for you and so easy. It doesn't cost you a penny. Rule number 8, create a mulch pile. All right, so if you actually have some scraps that you're not going to be able to use for your veggie broth, make sure that you have a mulch pile in your backyard. Rule number 9, bulk cook. I cannot tell you how much money this has saved me, ultimately how much time this has saved me, and how much this has allowed me to use what I have on hand and not throw it in the garbage. This is a really, really super important zero food waste rule. Bulk cook. Rule number 10. Here's a great idea for leftovers. If you have some leftover food and you think, I cannot stomach the same thing for 5 days. It's okay. You don't have to. Take those leftovers, package them in meal-sized containers. So I actually have 2 different sizes I kind of think of. One is that sort of serving, that individual serving size, right? Where you're going to put it in one of those small square Tupperware containers. Label that because that's super duper easy for Larry or one of the boys when they're on their way out the door to go to work or whatever to grab. So those are going to be like lunchtime things that people in your family are going to be able to grab or you're going to be able to grab on the way out the door. And then I have a second size of leftover that is like a family sized leftover. leftover. So think in terms of, is this going to make a good lunch? Go ahead and put it in 2 or 3 different smaller freezer containers or freezer bags, and make sure you label it and make sure you date it, and think of leftovers in terms of future lunches and future dinners. So you don't have to eat the same thing over and over again back to back. Rule number 11 for zero food waste is preserve it for later. If you see something in your refrigerator and think, well, that ain't gonna last, that's gonna go bad, don't let it go bad. Figure out how to preserve it for later use. Either freeze it or dehydrate it, and I do both things depending on what that item is. But that's a great way to make sure you can use it anytime you want. If it's in your freezer, it'll last generally up to a year. If it's dehydrated, it will last for 18 months. Rule number 12 for zero food waste is shop with a grocery list. And I know this doesn't seem like it has anything to do with zero food waste, and yet it does. Look, how many of us go to the grocery store? We go to the grocery store hungry. We're just hungry. And how many of the things in the grocery store look good when you're walking through that store hungry? Larry, how many of those things?
All of them.
Absolutely. All of them. Everything looks good. Am I guilty of this? Oh, so guilty of this. My kids know if I'm hungry, they want to go to the grocery store with me because they can ask for anything. I'll go, yeah, sounds like a good idea. Make sure that you have a list before you walk out the door to go to that grocery store, and stick to that list, all right? Don't go hungry and take a list. Rule number 13 for zero food waste is plan regular, clean out the fridge meals. Now, I do this once a week. I like to look in there once a week, see what's ready to use, and kind of plan to use my produce in order of, ooh, this is looking kind of wilty. We're going to use that up right away. We can wait a day or two for this. And then I plan a menu plan based on whatever is left that is perishable in my refrigerator. Now, I just actually did a video on this a few weeks ago where I showed you exactly what was left in my refrigerator and on my counter. I put all of my perishable items out on the table in front of me, and I showed you how I did a zero waste food plan that would feed my family based on what I had already in the house. And I'm going to make sure you have a link to that up above and in the description of this video, because if you want to see a serious practical application of everything that I'm telling you to do on this video, then that video is the next one you want to make sure that you watch. All right. Number 14, the rules for zero food waste. Number 14 is make soup with your leftovers once a week. Now, clearly there are some caveats to this. There are some things that just aren't going to make good soup, all right? You got leftover Jell-O salad. I am not suggesting you make soup out of it. Although a little fruit soup is actually, chilled fruit soup is actually really good, but I don't think Jell-O is the base of that would be really good. All right, so if you have leftovers in your refrigerator, particularly if you have little bits of like produce in there, some vegetables, that is the perfect opportunity. There are some things that just scream homemade vegetable soup to me, and looking in my refrigerator and seeing 5 or 6 different kinds of vegetables where I just have little amounts of each of them, that is when, my friends, you want to make soup. Some people call it end of the week vegetable soup, kitchen sink soup, once a week soup, whatever you want to call it, do it once a week because it's a really great idea. It's very nutritional, it's great for your body, and it's healthy, and it's incredibly cheap. And of course, it'll keep you from throwing stuff out, right? Because what we're going through in this video is zero food waste ideas. All right, idea number 15 is, and this seems like, once again, maybe this doesn't have anything to do with zero food waste and you being able to work toward this goal, but it does. Make zero food waste a family challenge or a family goal. For years now, our family has had a written zero food waste goal of 3%. The goal was to use 97% of everything that came into the house before it rotted and we had to throw it out. All right? Rotted, spoiled, and throw it out. That's what we were trying to avoid. And so everybody was very well aware of this, and we all worked together as a family to try to make that happen. Because being a good steward of what we have and what we've already spent our money on is incredibly important to us as a family. Not just me, not just Larry, but a whole family bonded together to try to make sure that this happened. So when you involve your family in the process, you want your kids to waste less food, get them in the kitchen with you and have them help you plan these meals and execute these meals, right? And put the recipes together and tell them, we're gonna use what we have so that we're not wasting money by throwing it out. Kids will get on board and get behind you in something like that. So when you make it a family goal, then you have something that you're going to be able to make forward progress on. Hey, we want to thank Novart. They're the creators of the Premium Glass Herb Keeper. We want to thank them for sponsoring this video. And I want to give you another reminder that you can save 10% on your order. And if you want to get your own Premium Glass Herb Keeper, there's a link in the description of the video. Now, I hope that these 15 rules of zero food waste were super helpful to you. And if they were, I want to hear you give me a shout out in the comments, and I want to know if there's anything you do that helps you waste less food. We will see you next week for the next Frugal Friday tips. Clearly left table and just hold it. I have the same tip on the list. I'm gonna fix it. I'm fixing it right now. I'm fixing it.